just love the play on say don't go, and it's like, you're not gonna say that, so now we don't talk. Come on! I really like that. Hey, it's Megan. Welcome back to On Writing. If you're new here, I'm a professional writer and writing coach, and I help writers understand the different parts of the writing process from start to finish, as well as look at what we can learn from writing in different forms of media. Today we are looking at the vault songs from Taylor Swift's 1989 Taylor's version. If you want the version of this video where I don't stop the music as much, you can find that on my Patreon. So the first vault song we're looking at is called Slut with an exclamation point, so buckle up. This song was co-written by Taylor Swift with Jack Antonoff and Patrick Berger. So let me pull it up. So we see already her classic Taylor writing style. 1989 is the same era as Blank Space, which I looked at in another video on Taylor's writing style. And in it we talk about how she uses just these short, very quick 2-3 word phrases to paint a picture of what's going on. And so we see that same thing here. Flamingo Pink, Sunrise Boulevard. Also, I find it interesting that it's Sunrise Boulevard and not Sunset Boulevard. Sunset Boulevard being better known typically. I don't know if there's really a Sunrise Boulevard. Also, that would make sense, but Flamingo Pink is such a great pairing because flamingo feels very tropical. I don't know why it also feels kind of 80s appropriate, late 80s, early 90s for me. Maybe that's just because I grew up in that time in Florida. But Sunrise Boulevard, it's giving me California feels, which is interesting because I think this album was more centered around her time living in New York. So already in just the first line, this feels much more like California to me. Clink, clink, being this young is art. Clink, clink, being this young is art. Okay, we can talk about a literary device that we haven't talked about yet, which is onomatopoeia. Try spelling that on your own. I don't even think I could. onomatopoeia. Let's see how close I was. Onomatopoeia. This is just a device where you use words that represent sounds. So when she says clink, clink, I picture glasses coming together, and that's a word that represents a sound. And so that's onomatopoeia. The more you know. Aquamarine, moonlit swimming pool. Aquamarine, moonlit swimming pool. Again, tropical feeling, still giving me California vibes. Aquamarine being a nice light blue, which kind of feels in line with the album's whole color scheme and whatnot. Moonlit swimming pool, so they're swimming at night. What if all I need is you? The interesting thing about that line for me is that it's a question. She's questioning it. So there's something kind of fun, sunrise, moonlit. So maybe they're up till all hours of the night. They're young, they're having fun, but she's asking, what if all I need is you? She's not saying all I need is you, period. So that can give us a little insight into where her character is at in terms of what she's thinking. Got love struck, went straight to my head. Got love sick all over my bed. Got love struck, went straight to my head. Got love sick all over my bed. I think that's an interesting play on words. It ties back to the clink clink of them like cheersing their glasses. She's getting intoxicated on this love and it went straight to her head. So she's kind of comparing the feeling of being in love to the feeling of having a couple of drinks and it going straight to your head. And then it's like, oh, well, it's too much now. Now I'm love sick all over my bed. So I was like, if it's the alcohol analogy, she's like vomiting. She's had too much to drink. Love to think you'll never forget handprints in wet cement. Love to think you'll never forget handprints in wet cement. So that makes me think they're out at night, they're getting a little crazy and wild, they're doing all these fun things, they're swimming in the moonlight, they're having a couple drinks, they're maybe walking down Sunrise Boulevard, and they're sticking their hands in wet cement. It's a little bit mischievous, and I like that. So it seems like she's having a lot of fun with this person. It's going straight to her head, but it's also, there's something about it that's maybe too much of a good thing, too much of a fun thing. Adorned with smoke on my clothes, love lorn and nobody knows. adorned with smoke on my clothes. Ooh, that's interesting. When I first heard that, it made me think she's around somebody or spending time with somebody who smokes. Maybe she's also smoking. Maybe that's part of the fun that they're having. Or I wonder if it could be a double meaning of like, this thing is gonna set her on fire almost. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit out of control. I don't know. Then she says, lovelorn and nobody knows. So lovelorn meaning your love is unrequited. It's not reciprocated. So maybe it seems like it's all going well, but actually nobody knows that the way she feels is unrequited. Love thorns all over this rose. I'll pay the price you want. Love thorns all over this rose. Man, that's great. So the idea of every rose has its thorn, every beautiful thing has its dark side. Even though this is a really fun romance, there's still that aspect of it where it's going straight to her head and she's getting lovesick. Even though it's a beautiful rose, there's still a lot of thorns. Which, isn't that a line in Blank Space too? Rose garden filled with thorns. I see what she's doing. I'll pay the price, you won't. So again, that kind of ties back in my mind to lovelorn. Like it's not reciprocated, it's unrequited in some way. She's going to pay some kind of price, but he won't. So we're like, why? If they call me a slut, you know it might be worth it for one. All right, so this is cool. She's using an analogy throughout this whole thing. So what is an analogy? Analogies are usually longer comparisons that you draw through more of your writing or go into greater depth on. And usually analogies compare two things that are different, but they have something in common. So unlike a simile and a metaphor where you may be comparing things that are completely different, but you want to show that thing A has an element of thing B, even though they might be completely different and not actually share anything. An analogy, there's usually something that's actually similar between them, but they might also be different. Does that make sense? Let's talk about how she uses that in this song. She compares falling in love with getting drunk when she says clink clink of the glasses, which is such a clever way of not saying that they're drinking overtly. Unreal. Love it. If I'm gonna be drunk, might as well be drunk in love. There's hints of language that would usually be used with drinking, but she's tying it to falling in love. And so those two things are not the same, right? But they share something similar, which is that it makes you feel really great in the beginning, and then too much of it is actually not good sometimes. So that's how she's tied the analogy through so far. She makes it more obvious here when she says, if I'm gonna be drunk, I might as well be drunk in love. But let's go back. If I'm all dressed up, they might as well be looking at us. If they call me a slut, you know it might be worth it for once. So she's kind of like really into this person because she doesn't even care what people are calling her. Maybe there's something where she's proud of who she's with, or she feels really good about being with him. So if she's all dressed up, they might as well be looking at us, so she doesn't mind. Just a sense of like, if I'm gonna go through these bad things, I might as well do it for love. We'll see where that goes. I'm a little, okay. Interesting. Send the code, he's waiting there. That just makes me think like he's outside her house or something and she has to give him a code for the gate. I don't know. That's what came to my mind. The sticks and stones they throw froze mid-air. Ooh, I love that mental picture. She talks about throwing stones in other songs as well. So what I've found fun about looking through several of Taylor's songs is that there are those similar images that come up, and so it just kind of is like her own little signature, and I like how it can tie some of her songs together and it just gives it her own sort of stamp. Anyway, sticks and stones they throw froze midair. Ooh, that's also so good because the main part of this song, which you can tell is the main part because the title is taken from it. If they call me a slut, you know it might be worth it for once. And then she says sticks and stones froze in midair. So that reminds me of that rhyme, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Here we've got the sticks and the stones and the words. She's not letting that word get to her, and the sticks and stones are freezing in midair. So they're not getting to her either. Ooh, so she is really kind of under attack for this relationship. And she tells us why in this line. Everybody wants him, that was my crime. So it's almost like she's a criminal for being with him. She was in the wrong place at the right time. So it's like she thinks it's right, but nobody else does. Break down, then he's pulling me in a world of boys, he's a gentleman. And then that really weighs on her, even though she's trying to be strong, being like, well, maybe it's worth it. She breaks down, but he pulls her in, and he's a gentleman. So she likes that he's different from the world of boys. Okay, there's a lot going on in there. Half asleep, taking your time. So he's not really rushing anything. She's like, it's going straight to her head. She's getting love sick and love struck. It feels a lot faster. But she says he's half asleep, taking his time. So he's not in the same place as she is. Why does that seem like such a theme in her life? Wrong place at the right time. It's irritating. In the tangerine neon light, that again makes me feel very like 80s California by the beach type of feeling, with the flamingo pink and the tangerine neon. This is luxury. You're not saying you're in love with me, but you're going to. You're not saying you're in love with me, but you're going to. Is she trying to convince herself that he's going to fall in love with her? Because what I'm picking up from this is that she is all in. She is super about this. It doesn't even matter what people are calling her, but she's expecting him to reciprocate, and that doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. So and then she repeats, half awake, taking your chance. It's a big mistake. I said it might blow up in your pretty face. She's almost trying to say, this could go really badly for you. She's not saying do it anyway, but you're going to. So that's an interesting dynamic we got going on. He's gonna keep being in this relationship even if it blows up in his face. That's tumultuous. All right. And then they just repeat the rest. Okay. A great opportunity to look at onomatopoeia and think about analogy and how analogy can weave through an entire poem or story. So that's good for us to think about as we're writing. What kind of analogy can you use to compare two different things that have something in common? Because the great thing about analogies is that we understand more of what she's talking about, more of the dynamic, because we're understanding what she's comparing it to. She's not saying, it's like running through a field of flowers and daisies in the summertime. That's not what she's saying. It's a faster way to get your reader to understand what you're talking about, the nuances of what you're describing. So cool. Okay, that's song number 1. Song number 2 is Say Don't Go. This one was written by Taylor Swift and Diane Warren. Okay, Diane. Known it from the very start. Her lower register is so beautiful. In the darkest dark. That's fun. Man, she's really good at tying her metaphors together from different lines. So I almost expect her to keep her comparisons in just one line or 2 lines, but sometimes she ties them together really well. So I've known it from the very start. We're a shot in the darkest dark. Oh no, I'm unarmed. If you're taking a shot in the dark, it's almost like you're guessing because you can't see where your target is, right? So it's enough to say we're a shot in the dark. She says we're a shot in the darkest dark. So she's using hyperbole, the darkest dark, to exaggerate the point that they have no idea what they're doing. And she says, uh-oh, I'm unarmed. So she can't even take the shot because she's not armed. So either the person she's with is going to have to take the shot, and man, maybe she's not sure if they're going to do that. But she's known it from the start that it's going to be like this. So she's been aware. She's been aware. And she still went into it. Fading into sadness, fading into madness. So remember, she has to assume that the person she's with is going to take the shot. And then she says the waiting is a sadness fading into madness. So waiting for that person to take the shot is both sad and makes her feel a little crazy. It's starting to, maybe it's been going on for a while, but it's fading into madness. So that's kind of interesting because you'd think that maybe if she started out sad, it would intensify into feeling crazy and into madness. Madness feels very much more activated than sadness, has more energy to it, but it's fading into madness. So that's interesting. Verbs, man. If you don't think about the types of verbs that you're using, I really encourage you to go through your latest writing piece, circle the verbs, and go, is there a stronger verb I can use here? Different verbs have different feelings to them. So just think about the kind of verbs you're using. Sadness fading into madness gives a whole different picture than sadness growing into madness. All right. I'm standing on a tightrope. She's just not sure what this other person is doing. She's waiting, she's balancing, and there's no one there to help her. Hold my breath a little bit longer, halfway out the door, but it won't close. I hold my breath a little bit longer. Like she's waiting. She's waiting, she's in the balance, on the tightrope. That's not a great place to be. For you to say, don't. She's holding out hope for you to say, don't go. Oh, so sad. Oh, I hate it. Yeah, haven't we all been there? Have we? Where we love someone, maybe they're not so great for us. We're walking away, but we just kind of wish they would get off their butts and, you know, get it together. Get it together. All right. Okay, that part is way too fun sounding for what she's actually saying. I would stay forever if you say don't go. You know, I can't support that because he doesn't seem like that great a guy. He can't commit. He can't take that shot in the dark. He's not on the tightrope with her. It's all very one-sided. No. This sounds like the same guy from that other song, Slut, so. Why'd you have to lead me on? Why'd you have to twist the knife? Why'd you have to lead me on? Again, red flag. Why'd you have to twist the knife? Really big red flag. Walk away and leave me bleeding. I'm understanding now why in later songs, on later albums, she's always talking about, I'm just waiting for you to cut to the bone. Because she was cut and started bleeding in this relationship, so I get it, girl. I get it, you know, that hurts. Why'd you whisper in the dark just to leave me in the night? Ew. No. He's all close to her, being able to whisper, and then he goes away. He's farther. He leaves her. No. Now your silence has me screaming. Ooh, man, that's a good play on those two dynamics of your whisper, you have to be close, and then you leave, you're far away. Your silence, quiet, obviously, has her screaming. Not quiet. Good. Once again, juxtaposition. She's really good at bringing together opposing terms. She just wants him to say, don't go. I would stay forever if you say, don't go. Don't let him say that. No. If he says that, run away. Run as fast as you can. Now I'm pacing on shaky ground. She paces a lot. Is she all right? I feel like she's got the anxiety. But no kidding. She's with this person that's leading her on. Like that does give you a lot of anxiety when you're like, I feel like I'm in the darkest dark. I can't take the shot. He's got to do it and he's not doing it. So yeah, she's on the tightrope, feeling very unbalanced. And now she's pacing on shaky ground. Again, very unbalanced. Strike a match, then you blow it out. Oh no, oh no. Strike a match and then you blow it out. So she's trying to start a fire, right? She's trying to start something and he immediately blows it out. This guy is what we call not it. In these short lines, I think she does a really great job of, she and Diane, she co-wrote this. They do a great job of creating just these little pictures that give you a sense of what the heck they're talking about. Strike a match, then you blow it out. She's not actually saying what he's doing, but she's showing us. Again, she just does that so well in her songs. So. 'Cause you kiss me and it stops time. Not worth it. And I'm yours, but you're not mine. There it is. You kiss me and it stops time. Here she tells us more directly what's going on. I'm yours, but you're not mine. There's really no gray area to that. I'm trying to see the cards that you won't show. Oh. I'm about to fold unless you. So there she does the same thing we talked about earlier, where she starts with a comparison, an analogy in one line, and then she brings it into a second line. So she did this where she said, we're a shot in the darkest dark, and I'm unarmed. And then here she says, I'm trying to see the cards that you won't show. I'm about to fold. So she brings that analogy through to the next line, which I just like it when she does that. She's standing on the sidewalk alone. So okay, she's been on the tightrope. She's been pacing on the shaking ground. Now she's standing on the sidewalk alone. So it's kind of interesting to think about all those different pictures. She's up high on the tightrope alone, so maybe really wobbly. Then she's on the ground pacing, so maybe a bit more control, but it's still shaky. And now she's standing, so she's not moving anymore. It's much more still. Is she starting to get over it now? Like, is she ready to go? Like, ready to walk away? It's not worth it anymore. She kind of confirms that when she says, I'm trying to see the cards that you won't show. I'm about to fold. And that's just a reference to poker, basically, when you're playing cards and you think that you don't have a winning meaning hand, you fold, meaning you take yourself out of the round. So again, she's about to walk away. She's halfway out the door. Now it seems like she's more out the door though, because she's more admitting that she's about to be fully out the door. You know what I'm saying?
Make me love you.
Oh.
Said I love you. You say nothing back.
No, we don't like it. So she's pinning it all on him, really. Why did you have to make me want you? Why did you have to give me nothing back? Why did you have to make me love you? And I just find that interesting because she starts the song saying, I've known it from the very start. So, like, yeah, it's all well and good to blame him, but you knew what you were walking into. You knew that you were a shot in the darkest dark. So you really can't blame him. But when you're in this place of, can you just love me back? it's easy to be like, you know, this person, they're all to blame for this. And there is a level of manipulation, it sounds like, in this. Like, he was leading her on, he'd whisper and then leave. So I can get that, but walk away, let me bleed, 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 bleed. And then let's see, do they play any more after that? I want you more, but you won't. He's not going to say it. Yeah, well, you know, we shouldn't be surprised by that. But you know what's amazing about this song is that you get the entire picture of this other character without any actual description of them at all. We only learn about the other character through the narrator's eyes. This is what we call an unreliable narrator. Inevitably, every time you have a first-person narrator, which is someone saying, I did this, I did that, you're getting everything about the story from their point of view, it's going to be inherently unreliable because it's filled with their own biases. You're not getting anyone else's point of view. So you're only getting your narrator's point of view. What's fun with that as a writer is you can play around with what's true and what's not true. Are they exaggerating? Are they not? Like, we could easily say, oh, he twisted the knife, he led her on, he made her want him and then just walked away. And it's like, yeah, maybe, or maybe that's not the full story because she knew it from the very start. So it's just fun when you're writing a first-person narrator to think about how you can make it somewhat unreliable. They're not going to know everything, right? And they're going to be viewing the story events from their own perspective, so it's going to be biased. So it's just something to think about if you're writing in first person. But okay, that's Say Don't Go. The next one is Now That We Don't Talk. This one was written by Taylor and Jack Antonoff. Why do I feel like this is a continuation of the last song? Say Don't Go. He doesn't say it, so now they don't talk.
Went to a party, I heard from everybody. You part the crowd like the Red Sea, don't even get me started.
So this opening has some great approximate rhymes. Obviously, we have to talk about that. You went to a party, I heard from everybody. Don't even get me started. What? Come on. How does that even work? Let's listen again.
You went to a party, I heard from everybody. You part the crowd like the Red Sea, don't even get me started.
I almost wanted to say starty. Don't even get me starty. So that it rhymes better. That's cool. Very approximate, but we love it. All poetry does not have to rhyme. Usually songs do, but not here. You part the crowd like the Red Sea. Wow, that is an allusion to the Bible when God parts the Red Sea for Moses as he's leading the Israelites out of Egypt. So she's basically comparing him to God. Wow. Yep. All right. Again, she's the first person narrator, so we're getting her point of view. So she's infusing it with her assumptions and her biases. Did you get anxious, though, on the way home? I guess I'll never know now that we don't talk. So that makes me think that he maybe confided in her about how he really feels about things while they were together. So, like, were you actually not feeling very godlike? It just gives me a sense that she used to see what he was really going through while they were together. And now she says, I guess I'll never ever know now that we don't talk. That kind of makes me think of We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. That was on Red, which came out before this album. Is that a slight plug at they're never ever getting back together, so she'll never ever know? That would be cool. I could dig that.
You grew your hair long, you got new icons.
She gets into the deeper notes, the lower notes in these songs. I really like that. You grew your hair long, you got new icons.
And from the outside it looks like you're trying lives on. I miss the old ways, you didn't have to change.
And From the outside, it looks like you're trying lives on. Long icons, lives on. I like the rhymes that she's using here. So it's like he's changing and trying out these different identities. Icons is funny. You got new icons. An icon, aside from the internet definition of that, an icon is like a religious symbol of devotion, which ties back to the allusion to the Bible from the Red Sea. So you got new icons, new ways of worshiping him, maybe. You grew your hair long. That's giving me Jesus vibes. But it could just be a direct allusion to Harry Styles. What? I miss the old ways. You didn't have to change. He's starting to change. He's trying out these new things. He's growing out his hair. And she's like, you were good the way you are. But she doesn't have a say because they don't talk anymore.
Be your friend, so I pay the price of what I lost. And what it cost, now that we don't talk.
So it definitely has to be about the same guy as the last song, because I just love the play on say don't go. And it's like, you're not going to say that, so now we don't talk. Come on. I really like that. Remind myself the more I gave, you'd want me less. So that's the same dynamic we got in Say Don't Go. Like she was giving and giving, she was in it. Even in Slut, it was kind of the same thing. Like I got lovesick, it went straight to my head, but it kind of wasn't the same for him. And then the idea of paying a price, that came up in the other song as well. So I can't be your friend, so I pay the price of what I lost and what it cost. Man. It's almost like she can't help him. She wants to. She wants to be like, you don't have to do all these things. You don't have to change. But I'm not allowed to be your friend, so that's the loss that I have to deal with now. And it cost me something, which is like, yeah, totally. This is a great example of tying narrative threads together through different songs or through different poems. Each song we've looked at so far seems like they're kind of going in order. So you can think about that if you're writing poems. You can write multiple poems that sort of tell a story throughout them all, and that would be really cool. If you give that a try, let me know.
Truth is, I can't pretend it's platonic, it's just ended.
Oh. What do you tell your friends we shared dinners with, long weekends with? Truth is, I can't pretend it's platonic, it's just ended. Yeah, that stinks. So she kind of wants to stay friends. And they shared friends. That kind of ties back to you went to a party, I heard from everybody. So they were kind of part of the same friend group. But now that's over. So she's still connected with them, but she can't be his friend. So it's just ended. That stinks.
I called my mom, she said to get it off my chest. Remind myself the way you faded till I left.
Ooh, faded till I left. Come on. We talked about that verb in another song. It's sadness fading into madness. And now it's I remind myself the way you faded until I left. Tying the threads together. We love to see it. So the only reason that stands out to me is because that verb was so interesting to me and it stood out in that other song. If she had just used a normal verb, I wouldn't have been able to connect those two things together, right? So that's why, again, word choice, especially verbs, verb choice is very important and can and should be intentional. That doesn't mean, though, that you should overdo it and pick verbs that are really flowery. Sometimes it's okay to just say, he walked down the street. You know, but in a poem, it's a little bit different. You can play around with those more unusual verbs.
With important men who think important thoughts. Guess maybe I am better off now that we don't talk.
That is so funny. Good for you. Yeah, now I don't have to pretend I like acid rock or I want to be on a mega yacht with important men who think important thoughts. So it's interesting because she's telling him you didn't have to change, but it sounds like she was not being who she really was in this relationship. She was pretending that she liked all the things that he liked. So she was really giving it her all, but not really in the most authentic way.
Was to turn into a shrouded mystery, just like I had been with.
Oh, so it almost seems like the mystery was what he was after, and then once he got to know her, he was like, no, it's not for me. And you know what? You guys are better off because you were both not really into it. Like, you were into it, but you weren't being yourself, so that's not worth it.
Guess this is how it has to be. Now that we don't talk.
That's where it ends? just ends like that, just like this relationship. Okay, now that we don't talk, that's a great picture of how to weave threads through different pieces of your work. Even if you're writing short stories or different novels, think about the distinct aspects of those stories or themes or words you use. How can you tie them together? It's kind of fun to do that without just rewriting what you've already done, if that makes sense. Cool. Fun. All right, 2 more. Holy moly, it's already been an hour. Okay. Suburban Legends. You're up next. This one was also written by Taylor and Jack, my buddies. Yep, I know them. We're on a first name basis. Okay.
You had people who called you on unmarked numbers in my peripheral vision.
Get those low notes again. Love it. This is low. That's how you distinguish low. Is this movement.
I let it slide like a hose on a slippery plastic summer.
Simile!
Always quickly forgiven.
Okay, you had people who called you on unmarked numbers in my peripheral vision. Oh no. In my peripheral vision. So peripheral vision meaning the vision out to your side here. Okay. So it's like you can't see it directly, but you can still kind of see it. You know it's there. Sorry. I let it slide like a hose on a slippery plastic summer. Ooh, we love that simile. So some people who have unmarked numbers are calling this person. She's aware of it, but she's letting it slide like a hose on a slippery plastic summer. That makes me think of those slip-in slides you have when you're a kid, and it's literally just a sheet of plastic and you run the hose on it and then you go sliding down them. Is that what she's talking about here? Because that's what it seems like. You're going to move fast down that. Like it's very slippery. So she's definitely letting it slide very quickly.
You were so magnetic, it was almost obnoxious.
Ooh, she really likes to use that term to describe the men that she's with, doesn't she? Magnetic force of a man. You were so magnetic. She's drawn to these magnetic types of dudes. It was almost obnoxious. Flush with the currency of cool. I like that phrase. How cool he is like currency. It gets him the things that he wants and needs. Ooh, gross. And he's flush with it. So it's like you're alive with this. And then she says, I was always turning out my empty pockets. I love these connected analogies. She starts the analogy about him and then she continues it about her, and it's usually in an opposite way. We were a shot in the darkest dark. That's you and me. I was unarmed. Here's how I was different. You didn't lay all your cards on the table. I was about to fold. You were flush with the currency of cool. I was always turning out empty pockets. She doesn't have any currency, so she's not as cool as him. She can't use that to get what she wants. Oh man, that's good. Hello? What the? All right.
I didn't come here to make friends. We were born to be suburban legends.
Okay. I think this one was written more about Connor Kennedy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you all know. I know you all have the inside scoop. We were born to be suburban legends. That's interesting because urban legends is the more common phrase, and an urban legend is something that gets told to you and stories that get passed down that maybe aren't true, but they're kind of thought of as true. It's an urban legend. Like we all kind of believe this, but it might not be true. Suburban has a very distinct connotation. Denotation is what a word literally means. Connotation is sort of what it implies or what you think of when you hear it. And it's not always the same as its literal definition. So the connotation of suburban meaning very like buttoned up and proper and clean, maybe like middle to upper class. I'm getting preppy feelings. Maybe they both have that kind of image. And it's something they were born to be. So again, I think this could be about Connor Kennedy because he's part of a legendary family. I don't know. Interesting.
It holds me together, and you kiss me in a way that's gonna screw me up forever.
When you hold me, it holds me together. That's not great. Okay. And you kiss me in a way that's going to screw me up forever. Wow. All right. Red flags abound in this era.
I got a class reunion. Walking in with you.
he's got the currency of cool and she doesn't. So he's got a higher status than her in some ways. So she's sort of fantasizing that this is all going to work out and I'm going to be with the, it's like being with the star quarterback, the most popular guy in school. I'm going to be on his arm at the class reunion and nobody's going to believe it. But she knows that their star signs are mismatched. It's not really the best pairing. It might not work out, but she had the fantasy that it would,
I am standing in a 1950s gymnasium, and I can still see it now.
That's funny. So 1950s gymnasium. Again, I feel like that ties into that feeling of suburban legend. The 50s, I believe, are really when suburbs started to boom more in the United States. So this is giving the feel of a 1950s high school, again, which feels very proper and buttoned up and middle to upper class and suburban and clean and all those things. It's around the same time that JFK was president as well. Not quite. He was in the 60s, but it's just giving that whole like all-American couple feeling. And it's a fantasy. Oh man. We were born to be national treasures. Again, that makes me feel it's very Kennedy. Like if you're born into that family, it holds a lot of weight. You're kind of a national treasure. And then her fame and her success, does that make her a national treasure? So if you want to break that down more, national, American, she's American, he's American. Treasure being something really valuable. So something that's really valuable and American. And so they both fall into that category. And then he told her they'd get back together. Don't think that happened.
On the clock, I pace down your block.
There she is pacing again. Oh, I feel so bad for her. She'd just be pacing all the time.
Crash on the shore, I dash to the door. You don't knock anymore, and my whole life's
Okay. Again, tick-tock on the clock. That's onomatopoeia. We saw it in Clink Clink with Slut, and now here it is again, tick-tock. That's onomatopoeia as well. I broke my own heart because you were too polite to do it. Ew. We love a coward. Gross. Waves crash to the shore, I dash to the door. You don't knock anymore. Love that triple rhyme. Also the idea that the waves are crashing and it sounds like knocking to her. So she runs to the door thinking it's him, but it's not. And her whole life is ruined. So there's another hyperbole. Her whole life is not ruined, but exaggeration to prove a point. That's how it felt to her in the moment. She says, and I always knew it, that my life would be ruined. So she just like with that last guy where she's like, I could see it from the very start. We were a shot in the darkest dark. She knew it about this guy too. Girl, what the heck? If you have that thought and feeling, don't go for it. We're definitely seeing some similar threads throughout all these songs, which is really fun. The way that she connects ideas and themes through the words that she's choosing, and similar themes of, I was really into this, I knew it wasn't really that great, and then you were not as into it, and you broke my heart and ruined my life. So, yeah, very dramatic, but fun to see the similarities throughout these songs. Okay, we have one more. Is it over now? Oh gosh, great. Oh dear. This was also written by her and Jack Antonoff.
Flight had flown with the wilt of the rose.
There's the rose again. Once the flight had flown with the wilt of the rose, I slept all alone, you still wouldn't go. Y'all will tell me what parts of this are autobiographical and which parts aren't, but the plane has taken off, the rose is dying, I'm sleeping alone, but still you're here somehow. Interesting.
Let's fast forward to 300 takeout coffees later.
Let's fast forward to 300 takeout coffees later. That's a lot of coffees. It could be hyperbole, or maybe that's really how many were involved.
I see your profile and your smile on unsuspecting waiters.
I see your profile and your smile on unsuspecting waiters. Like she thinks she's seeing him, but it's not him.
You search in every maiden's bed for something greater.
There's a bit of a like back and forth between I this, you this, I this, you this. I see your profile and your smile on unsuspecting waiters. You dream of my mouth before it called you a lying traitor. You search in every maiden's bed for something greater. I think every maiden is interesting. It's very fairy tale, medieval vibes, but this song doesn't feel like that so far, with like takeout coffees and waiters feels very contemporary, and then maiden feels very not contemporary. So, okay, I probably wouldn't have chosen that, but I'm a stickler for consistency, so I don't know.
Was it over when he unbuttoned my blouse?
Was it over when she laid down on your couch? Was it over when he did this to me? I did this to you. You did this to me. So it's back and forth. There's clearly, to me, a sense of they're both still kind of holding on to this. Even though they're moving on, they still have feelings left for each other. So baby, was it over then? And is it over now? Maybe she's saying that because she called him a lying traitor, that he was cheating on her, and then she started cheating on him. And then it's like, was it over when we did that? Is it over now? So that could be a double meaning there. I don't know, it's interesting. All right.
Blue dress on a bow. Your new girl is my clone.
So when you lost control, red blood, white snow, that makes me feel fairy tale-ish as well, like just Snow White, white snow, red blood. I don't know. Now I'm primed to think about fairy tales. Blue dress on a boat. So again, she's doing her Taylor Swift thing by bringing in clothing and just giving us little snippets, and we have to fill in the gaps. Red blood, white snow. Like, okay, what you talking about? Someone bleeding in the snow. Like, we don't know. Blue dress on a boat. Okay. Your new girl is my clone. That's a little bit more direct. So is the blue dress on the new girl? I don't know. But gross that he's just found a clone, you know? But again, that is her point of view. So it may not be that that was true. That may be just how she perceived it.
Did you think I didn't see there were flashing lights? At least I had the decency to keep my nights out of sight.
Wow, this is so that same guy from the other two songs that we started with. Did you think I didn't see you? There were flashing lights. At least I had the decency to keep my nights out of sight. So that makes me think she's talking about paparazzi. Like, he's not doing a very good job hiding the fact that he's moved on, but she's at least trying to do that. But again, this is her perspective, so it could be skewed. And I love that about a first-person narrator. It's never the full picture because it's missing his side of the story. But I love that she says there were flashing lights. That's all she says, but we can infer that probably means paparazzi. It could mean something else, but at least that's what comes up in my mind. But it leaves room for interpretation because it's not so specific, it's not so direct. Only rumors about my hips and thighs, my whispered sighs, oh Lord. So she was keeping her nights out of sight, but there were still rumors about what she was doing with her body, and maybe they weren't even true.
Lord, I think about jumping off a very tall somethings just to see you come running.
I think about jumping off of very tall somethings. Yikes. Just to see you come running. So the idea that you have to almost kill yourself, or at least very badly injure yourself to get this person's attention is that's pretty icky. She still wants him to say the one thing she's been wanting, which is what we heard in the other songs, that he loves her back. But no.
Let's fast forward to 300 awkward blind dates later.
Okay, so let's fast forward to 300 awkward blind dates later. So 300 again, this makes me think more that it is hyperbole. 300 coffees, that's a lot. 300 awkward blind dates. Was it really that many? I don't know, but it's a lot.
If she's got blue eyes, I will surmise that she'll probably date her.
If she's got blue eyes, I'll surmise, great word, surmise, that you'll probably date her. That's a little sassy. But she's basically saying, like, I was just one of 300, you know? I was just one of the many blue-eyed girls you're gonna go out with.
You search in every model's bed for something greater, baby.
You search in every model's bed for something greater. So that's interesting. That makes me rethink the whole maiden line. You search in every maiden's bed. So maybe maiden there was meant to refer to someone young. And then you search in every model's bed. So now he's moved on to another type, but maybe they're both blonde with blue eyes. I don't know. Anyway, does she just repeat the rest of that? Oh, okay, that's it. Wow, I feel like that went by fast. Similar themes again, but is it over now? It's sort of like the final piece of the story, right? We've seen a whole story unfold, perhaps with the exception of Suburban Legends, which I think is about somebody else and telling the different story. The other four seem to really tell the story of how this goes kind of in order. You know, we're together and I don't care about what they say about me. Sticks and stones don't hurt me, but I just need to know, like, are you in this too? Say don't go, like I'm about to leave, but I will stay if you just say this. We don't talk, okay, now it's over. over, and I miss that aspect of us kind of leaning on each other and being friends. And now, is it over now? Like, we're still kind of pining for each other, or at least we have been for a while, and now is it really over? So that's really cool to see sort of that entire arc through those songs. Cool. Okay. Whew. My goodness. Well, those were Taylor Swift's Vault songs from 1989, Taylor's version. If you want to watch the full extended version of this video where I don't cut up the songs so much, you can find that on Patreon. Let's not forget that we got to talk about onomatopoeia. We got to talk about analogy. We got to dig deeper into first-person narration and what you can do with your unreliable first-person narrator. So really cool. But as always, it was so good to see you today. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.